Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Is it sinful to consume food that is doubtful in terms of its permissibility? Is it sinful to consume food that is doubtful in terms of its permissibility? The fiqh of minorities, fiqh al-aqalliyat, which is only going to be relevant to Muslim minority situations, is often deemed to be a permissive form of fiqh, if that makes sense. A form of fiqh whereby we make things permissible based on lenient views in order to make things easier for people. My teacher, rahimahullah ta'ala, Mufti Taha Karan, the late Mufti of the Muslim Judicial Council in South Africa, he was of the opinion, and scholars before him in South Africa were of the opinion, that fiqh al-aqalliyat should actually be where we close off certain doors that are more lenient in order to preserve the Islam of the society in which Muslims are a minority. So I'm going to give you some examples of this in order to answer the question. Islam is about 400 years old in Cape Town, South Africa, in South Africa as a whole. And for the entire period of being present here in this country, the scholars had never opened up the doors to, number one, nikah with Ahlul Kitab, right? So a man marrying a non-Muslim woman who is of the Ahlul Kitab, whether that be of the Jewish faith or the Christian faith. So in the Shafi'i school, there's a bit of a stricter approach than in the other madhahib, which is to restrict the definition of Ahlul Kitab to only a certain percentage of the Ahlul Kitab who can trace their lineage back to the religion before the religion was corrupted or changed. That's the summary of the answer. The more detailed answer is available on our answer service, so you can view it there. So even though that is the case, and arguably, there's very little of this category of Ahlul Kitab, one could easily have said, well, the other madhahib allow for a more expansive definition. So we can open up that door, and because Muslims came here 400 years ago, they could have said, well, let's just open up this door and allow marriages to non-Muslims. But the ulama did not do that. They said, look, this is the Shafi'i view. We're going to implement this. We're going to be strict about it. Even if people find a solution, wherein they find Ahlul Kitab, the Imams just simply wouldn't marry them. And they would say, well, if you want to get married to this person, she needs to embrace Islam first. This is still the case today, with the exception of a few individuals who have taken it upon themselves to do otherwise. Another example. It would have been easy for a Muslim minority situation to say, well, the food of the Ahlul Kitab is permissible for you. طَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ. And as such, let's just say, if the food comes from Christians or if the food comes from people of the Jewish faith, that is permissible to consume. And while there's some element of truth in that statement, the concept in the modern world is very complex and problematic. And the scholars once again refuse to open up this door and just say, well, what's the use of having a halal certification body where, we specifically have to certify that certain food is halal for Muslims? Even though the Sharia doesn't necessarily require that level of scrupulousness. Still, our scholars insisted, no, in order for food to be considered halal, we have to have a halal authorizing body who goes and they inspect the processes and the meat and the like, and then they certify it, and based on that, Muslims can make informed decisions. Now, does a product require certification in order to be halal? No, it doesn't. As long as there's nothing proven to be haram in a particular food product, then it is to be considered halal as a default status quo. The exception to this, of course, is meat products and that which definitely comes from a haram source like khinzir and the like. Because there, the default status quo in meat is that it is haram until it has been proven to have been slaughtered in a shar'i, in a legislated manner. So once again, you find an example of fiqh al-aqalliyat where it goes opposite to what the general understanding of the fiqh of minorities goes. Now, based on what we've just stated, our question is specifically, is it sinful to consume food that is doubtful? No, it is not sinful to consume food that does not contain a halal certification sticker on there, because that doesn't make something halal or not. But when you say doubtful, what does this mean? Does this mean that you're not quite sure if it is halal or not? Because if that is the case, then understand the default status quo is that things are permissible, and I gave you the exceptions already. So you shouldn't be doubtful. You shouldn't be doubtful when you have evidence or you have no evidence to say that it is haram. In cases where you are doubtful because there are certain ingredients that you are suspicious of, but you can't really verify for yourself whether this is an animal byproduct or not. So in that case, you are doubtful. It wouldn't be sinful to consume that, but it would be better for you to refrain from that. Remember, something can only be sinful if it is haram. And there's no proof in front of you that this is haram. So when you find yourself in cases where there's genuine doubt, ilm would help you to remove the doubt because you know better how to distinguish between halal and haram. But in cases of genuine doubt, take the advice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, دع ما يريبك إلى ما لا يريبك فإن الصدق طمأنينة والكذب ريبة أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Leave off that which is doubtful for that which gives you no doubt, because truthfulness is a source of contentment while falsehood is a source of doubt. So a good example of this is you go to a place to eat and there are two establishments. One nice fancy establishment, but you are unsure about the halal status of their food. The other one next door is definitely halal. Why? Either because they've been certified as such or because they are Muslims and they have told you that our food is halal. In such an instance, there's no doubt that the taqwa option is to go with that which is definitely permissible, right? In such an instance, you don't even need to be concerned with the doubt. دع ما يريبك إلى ما لا يريبك. There you leave off the doubtful for that which is not doubtful. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.